Hello, Kenneth.
Hello, what's going on, Miss?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good, good.
Doing all right, man.
Thank you.
I apologize. I had to feed my son. He actually wanted to go down to sleep, so
You made it
I had
happen.
to do what I had to do. I had to make a decision.
You made it happen. Hey, it's part of the course. Good. You should get extra credit for that, because let me tell you, nap time is something that I don't know if college can help you.
Nah, that only life teaches you nap time. Only life.
Absolutely.
College don't get you ready for that.
No. That's practicum, right? That's you gotta just whatever. What's your kid's name? What is your kid's name?
Well, he's named after me. His name is Kenneth Merritt Jr.
Kenneth. You know.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Kenneth. A lot of people. The one thing I tell everybody is a lot of people think they're having a baby. They're not having a baby. You're having a Kenneth. Because you have to get customized to that baby. They think it's like one baby, same way, right?
No, definitely not. My daughter Kenya, she was a bit more independent, where he's more attached, and
Got it.
When it comes to him and her, whereas right now we could have had this whole discussion and you all wouldn't have known she was here. Because she would have been playing and doing her own thing. Well, he would have wanted to be in my lap. He would have wanted to be involved.
Wow.
He would have wanted to wave and he would have laughed at you talking and everything. Like it would have been a whole show. All the ladies would have thought it was cute. It wasn't something big, but I'm glad he went to sleep.
My second one is just like that. Like Olivia, my second one, man, she has to be all up in your space, trying to get
me right there.
Right there. And my first one, man, she's so independent. She did her own thing. She never came around, like left you alone. You got your time.
You got your time. She got her time, and she knows when she needs somebody to be around. Like if she's hungry, she may want to go to sleep, or something to drink. And other than that, you do you. She'll do her.
That's good. That's good. You may see that some of that reverses. Be careful. Don't think it stays the same. So sometimes the second one takes over, and then the first one's like, "Oh, I really need your time in this teenage life." So just gotta read around. Again, you're having a Kenyan and a Kenneth, not two babies. To be specific.
That's exactly how I look at it. That was actually good that you put it that way. I never really thought about it like that, but now thinking about it, yeah. I got a Kenya and a Kenneth, and he's not like this Kenneth. That's a whole different Kenneth. He's not
their own. To each their own specific item. So, well, thank you, Kenneth. You've done wonderful. I tried to reach you last time, but unfortunately, I think it was something with my system, and I didn't have time to tell you. But thank you for making a reach and saying, "Hey, I'm here, Professor." I really appreciate that. It's going to definitely make this class so much better.
No problem. I was real interested in being a guest speaker after I cannot remember her name, but she did such a wonderful job, that first speaker you had, and I wanted to be in part of that. I like the way that you run your class. It gives everybody a chance to be involved in their own education. It gives them a chance to be a stakeholder in their life, and you only get what you get out of it. So I mean. If you put a lot of time and effort in, then we get a lot out. If you don't, then we're just there writing 500-word, contributions and using key terms that,
Amen. Amen. And I have to tell you guys as the class something, and I'm very happy that with your class, we have 8 viewers. I'm sure more are coming in. I've been able to have about 10. And it's very helpful. But I have to tell you guys something about the course. I've been getting some concerns from the administration on how I run the course, believe it or not. But I will definitely clear that up as we get to the end of this text, because it's important we talk about it, right? It's absolutely. But thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate your contribution tonight. Today we start with Objective 29. We open the textbook to Objective 29. Do you have your textbook in front of you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Just follow along with me, and really all I do is grab what you already know. So I'm taking your knowledge from you and attaching it to these terms. Okay. That's part of my style, is the terms. And let me tell you where I get that, by the way. Sometimes I go to these biology courses at UH, believe it or not. And when I go there, I just want to listen to them. I actually just go to some courses, some classes. I don't know if you guys know this, but college classes are sort of like a preacher speaking. You know, when you go to a church and you pull over, the preacher is not going to tell you, please don't come into this. You know, you didn't pay your entrance at the door. No, they're going to be open, believe it or not. The only thing you're paying for is certification, which is a whole nother talk. That just says that you know what you're talking about. But the actual lectures, you can walk in anytime. And the one thing I tell you is that, especially on biology, is that my language of biology is very it's not proficient. What does that mean? When I sit down in a biology class, I don't know the terms. Do you get what I mean?
Okay, I see what you mean. Are you saying like, well, you can have a conversation, but your terminology might not be there to where people would expect, but you have knowledge on it, so you could have at least a decent conversation.
Exactly. So if someone, one of the words I had to look up myself was pathogen. And this professor was like, well, you know, you have this pathogen. So I'm like, whoa, hold on. I have to go look. It's almost like Spanish. I have to, you know, I speak Spanish, but other people have to look up that word. And people don't realize that what you learn in college is language on all these courses. You don't learn anything but language. So decisions theory is a language. So when you go and you become a manager and you speak to your higher ups because they're putting the funding on you becoming a manager and their asset, and you use the words like, you know what, I definitely have a premise on how I could infer this. Wow. They'll be like, man, this man knows decisions. Right. But even though you could be a okay decision maker, but you at least know the language of it. Do you see what I mean? So that's definitely what I try to teach everyone. I am a very term language based professor, and I try to push that on all your stuff that you put in discussion. So I'm hoping you guys remember this when you do your discussion, guys. Okay. And good, I see everybody. So please make sure you put in your discussion as I speak to Kenneth. He's already got 100 on the discussion grade. I'm not gonna have a quiz again this week. I actually have something that's gonna help you. It's gonna be a personality test, actually. This personality test is something that I took from my PhD course, my PhD courses, and I actually paid for, but I'm gonna give it to you guys free of cost. It could actually give you what you're meant to do. Now, take it with a grain of salt, please. But it actually, if you put it together, it will tell you to a pinpoint what you're supposed to do. It's called an MBTI. And you would go to, Kenneth, you would sit down with someone and you as a consultant and say, hey, I'm so lost, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And they'll give you the survey. And you fill it out and you pay them to do it. This is free of cost. The only thing I'm gonna ask the class is, do not share it with anyone else, please, because then that is a royalty issue.
Are you going to grade them?
No grading.
You're going to grade?
No. The only grade you're going to get is to do it. Just to do it. And you don't have to share your actual results. Now.
Okay, so the results will be there for us. Like it'll have how do you say I don't know how to describe it, but I guess it'll have a number system or something like that where, you know, we came up with this calculation and this is where we would be more held to doing.
Absolutely. It'll be nice for you guys to share with each other though, because this goes specific. It tells you should do this. You should be an attorney. You should be a physician. You should be an accountant. And it's crazy. Some people are already in the path. They already actually got it. And I will definitely speak more about it in the next course, but that's what I want to do instead of a quiz, just because I think it'll give you some value. And you know, what's funny, Ken, is real simple. You're just going to let me know if you did it or not. Some of you guys don't have to share your result. If you, and this is when you're like, well, Professor Puente, how are you going to make sure I did it? I'm not. You're going to be the one losing out if you're not going to do it. Something that's valuable, right? This is what I try to say.
That is a decision. And see, what I learned about your class and what really struck me was that it's really a decision-making class. It's you solve your own problems to get to class on Monday night.
Right.
You get here on Monday night, you be involved in the class, you just solved an A. You know, you just got an A at the end of it because all of the decisions that you made you know, before coming to class, you achieved them, and you also solved the problem of, well, you don't have to write this 500-word contribution. You don't have to worry about, you know, well, did I type that before next Monday came? Especially because of the way that the class is ran, it's ran for a convenience factor. So if you could allocate your schedule for convenience, you could make it here and you could achieve the A, and then being involved in reading the text, you'll come with the terminology. So I like the way that you incorporate that. And then me being here, you know, I also have to be able to speak the lingo in order for you, you know, to teach your class adequately, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Thank you. And this is one of my reaches. And I'll go a little further into it because I really want to get to the end of this so I can explain to you what's going on too. Because something in our class happening that I've been allowed to share with you. So, but if we start with page, I believe 82, and you look at reaching closure. Remember, we're talking about group decision making. Group decision making is not as easy as it sounds. I think you all know. I mean, believe it or not, this is why they have tons of books on marriage. Okay, marriage has two people. Okay, usually has two people, right? Marriage has two people. That's just 1 and 2. Could you imagine 10 when you have to do a group assignment or you have to do some kind of collaboration that could mean your career? So this is why group decision making is a whole nother even studied principle in decisions theory, separate from individual, you know, just you on your own. So, and we'll start here. Use command style, right? It says to reach a closure because you've been forming a team, you've been getting together. And this is why I don't assign the group project until after this part of the book, because it's good to use it. But it says use command style, the first one. In some settings, a group may examine an issue and develop ideas for it, but the final decisions are left up to a single person. Did you know that the decisions come up to a single person?
No, actually, when I thought about a group decision or when I've been posed with group decisions, it's usually something that we all agree upon. Now, yeah, we have that group thought that goes on where, you know, you would string your ideas along with somebody else's, or at least the alpha of the group, but still everyone had their input toward, you know, the end result. But I like that command style because then it puts somebody in response to what's being chosen. Somebody is taking that direct acknowledgement for that. So that's actually smart.
Within what you're saying, by the way, believe it or not, the textbook, remember, these are professors that wrote this. They're telling you have a captain. It's funny. At the end of the day, I know we're all coming together. I know we're all saying, but you got to pick a leader. Like they're saying, just please pick a leader. That leader shouldn't just be like, it's all about me. The leader should take input. When you take the input, at the end of the day, the leader should be the best analyzer. This is why you're taking this course, to become a manager. In other words, you as a manager will have a team of advisors to give you ideas, because at the end of the day, it falls on your watch. And then that's when you take the credit for good and bad. But it's funny, the book is saying, have a captain. That's all I'm saying, have one. It's a good idea.
Well, I'll put this in another perspective. I actually agree with that more, not in group theory, but also as being a husband to a family.
You're reaching some. Now, the way you presented it may be a little controversial, but I'll add it to it. How about instead a dominant and a person to support it? Because let me tell you, my mother, there is nothing supportive about her. She takes the decisions, but my dad is a support. Do you see what I mean? So now we all have an idea how marriages work. Now that's controversial. That's super controversial, because there's people that are like, no, that's not the way it should be. Let alone the book is telling you that's probably a good idea.
Okay, well, I see where the controversy steps in at. It kind of seems like I'm controlling, but when I think of my marriage, or when I think about how certain things have been placed before me, whereas everyone is the team, but the man or the husband is that dominant, you know, feature of the household. So he pretty much draws the bottom line, whereas mama may run, but father puts the foot down, you know.
No, and so that makes sense. And I'll tell you, that's a tradition. Well, people say traditional roles, and it doesn't work for everybody. It's true. But I will give you one insight, guys. So you guys should look at like what Kenneth is actually pointing at. and I can't go into, which is a great discussion. Look up masculinity and look up femininity. Those are two different notions than men and women. That
very good words to put out there.
Really, that's a whole nother subject, a whole nother study, by the way. But those two are really good, and it gives you some harmony. In fact, Tony Robbins is the one who suggests it the most. But if we could keep going, that was good, Ken. That was good. Use the consultative approach. Consultative approach is similar to a command style in that a leader still makes the final decisions. See what we're talking about? Yeah, you can have a leader, and the textbook is saying yes. But it's a good idea that the leader takes consulting roles from other people. Otherwise, then you're just going to make a decision based on none. Remember, the whole book is about collective ideas, specialties,
brainstorming, using other people's thoughts, collective thought, using other people's minds to come up with an idea, using the 5 whys and the group method.
Exactly. Tamara says, we all got a discussion over marriage. We will be here for the rest of the year. Yeah, absolutely, Tamara. I more than agree on that. Octavia says there's always going to be a leader in a group project. It's always going to be that one person that's initiator when we have our heads put together. And one thing, Octavia, I want to clear up. This is unfortunate. In a college group project, the leader is usually the person that does all the work. That's unfortunate. You see what I mean? It's like people are like, oh, congratulations, leader. But there's really no benefit because it's like the person doing 99% of the work can't.
He did everything to get that, you know. He worked hard for it. So yeah, he should be getting that, you know.
So I try to do on our project, I try to do certain items to make sure that's not the case. That you're actually using the book's definition of group and captain, etc. Right? And 3, use consensus decision making. Consensus decision making seeks a solution that most of the group can agree with. That is correct. Now, even that is controversial, though, because people believe, there's 2 beliefs, and this is now going philosophical. Is it the good, the better for the good for the most, meaning the good for the most people, or is it the least for the least harm for the minority? Do you get what I'm saying? Least harm approach means you try to do everything and not harm the minority, right? The other one is the good for the better for the masses. In other words, you whatever it is, if you go one route, you're going to appease the majority, but you still have people there who need to make decisions. Those are 2 philosophical concepts that if you wanted to look up, you can understand.
So I'm guessing you kind of try to find the middle ground, something that's for everybody, but you know, at least the person who is almost left out isn't too upset because it still kind of works in their favor. In a small way?
Yes. But let me tell you this. From my experience, what I know is that least harm is the way to go. Even that's even democracy. Least harm, meaning that the minority is asked what is their loss. Do you see what I mean?
Well, then I'm guessing you would be thinking more in an ethical manner. So that way, you know, just to cover all your bases, you know, you'll be thinking more ethically than more majority. You know,
in other words, to dichotomy. Remember what dichotomies mean, guys. Dichotomy means 2 thoughts, 2 competing thoughts. Greater good, least harm. And people think that's the same, and no, it's not. Greater good means you take the best outcome, even though the minority may be harmed. You care less about that. The least harm is you're asked the minority, and you don't do it until they make sure they have the least harm. See, those are 2 different thoughts and methods. And that divides the country, believe it or not. That divides the country. People don't even know that. But not just this country, but most countries. What do you do? Yeah. The most amount of people think, or the least amount have their thoughts at stake. So that's really important too. But that even comes into group thinking, because it's like, well, what do we go? We're trying to appease the one person that's not happy, or we're trying to appease the majority. You see that's something you do. And then halfway, it's a little bit difficult too. So you just kind of gauge it. So, and then we have select appropriate voting methods. This is really important, guys. The way we do things in the United States, and this is a group. The country is a group. And we have a leader. We choose a leader. We have a certain way to set it up, right? You could do the same for your own item. In other words, if you guys all landed, the entire class landed in the island, who's leader? Now you have to probably make a system. This is why people say use a system. Don't just, Otherwise, the most dominant person is just going to take over. You see, have a system.
Yeah.
And that's what the book is about. It's have systems of thought of making resolutions. Otherwise, it's all going to go least path of resistance, which will be the person taking over, right? So see how this, we didn't even get through 29 and already the group is getting a little difficult. So let's see here. When you take a role of a group leader or project manager, it is your responsibility to make sure that everything flows in order to get things done. That is true, Tavia. People say that about leaders. They have a responsibility. But then what about the followers' responsibility? I'll tell you that. Sometimes that goes under the rug because people see leader and they're like, well, you have all the glory. However, the glory comes responsibilities too. I get that. And what about the followers? What are the followers? Because having a good leader, people don't realize this. Having a good leader, it is a privilege. I've started to realize it's everyone in this discussion group has had bad managers, and they're very common, right?
Can't agree.
They're very common.
Well, a lot of people haven't experienced, like you say, they haven't experienced a good quality leader before them. So you have to kind of learn the qualities that go along with leadership. You have to learn that, you know, when things go bad, that it falls back on you. And you also have to learn that, you know, in order to get that credit, it comes with hard work too. And
right.
Not a lot of people are ready for those responsibilities.
Right, that's right. And that's why I tell you, if you guys ever have the honor of working with a good leader, let them know. I mean, probably goes against what this conversation we're going to have, but let them know, because that way they know how to adjust or not, because they really care about it. People that are usually bad leaders is not because they mean harm. They don't know leadership exists. They don't even know it's a thing. They don't have no idea. It's just, so they just kind of do it without knowing. This is where the course comes in, to try to make you guys decision makers, right? So avoiding the common group traps. What are the group traps? Organize the overhead. Groups require time, attention, effort. Let me tell you, if you try to form a group and not put time, like a little plant you're supposed to water and fertilize, then you're probably not gonna have a group, right? It's cohesion. You need chemistry. This is why, let me tell you, in some sports, you know, a bad coach may have all the talent in the world, but if that talent doesn't go together well, then you might as well have no talent, right?
True.
Yeah, so that's
that's Denver. That was Denver, Colorado a couple years ago when they had Carmelo Anthony, Allen Iverson, and Kenyon Martin. And you'd have thought that they could run anybody out the gym, but they couldn't win. Wow. And it was all because of George. No, what the coach that they had back in the day, old Carmelo, not Carmelo in New York, but
Carmelo is good.
Denver Carmelo with Allen Iverson and Kenyon Martin.
I forgot to have Iverson. I completely forgot. That's a huge get. I would say. And what's funny is, you know, I'll bring the Rockets into this. They have cohesion. Thankfully,
yes, they do.
We found.
And you would have thought they wouldn't.
Right, and I put that with the leader. I put that with D'Antoni. Even though the guy's not much of a leader, more strategist, he's still creating that harmony there. But it's so funny. It happened with the Astros. They found the leader, and all of a sudden, that manager brings the talent together and makes it forward. Right? Appreciate leadership, guys. Let me tell you, it's not common. It's not common. So number 3, avoid the Superman complex. This is important, guys. A group develops a collective sense of invulnerability. Talking about the Rockets, the one thing I'm worried about is that they feel like they're untouchable. And this is what happens when teams go back-to-back winning all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is important for everyone, even including as a group. Hey, if you've done well, you've had success in the past, it's important you realize everybody has mistakes somewhere. Catch them, work on them. I hate to bring sports again into this, but you know, my alma mater, well, Nick Saban, that man, he will find a fault in championships because you just find them and keep going, and that alone creates better group cohesion for performance.
Okay.
Right? And check this out. What do you think about groupthink? You see what groupthink is? The condition of groupthink?
Tradition members shy away from presenting ideas that fall aside from the group's comfort zone. Well, when I think about groupthink, which I will admit myself, I've been a part of groupthink, but that's usually, as a younger person, because you want to kind of assimilate with everybody and you don't want to feel like that outcast. You want to kind of, agree, and it may not even be the best idea, but it's the one that's common amongst you all, and that's what keeps you all together as a group. And it's kind of bad. You shouldn't be afraid to go away from what other people think, because that breeds innovation.
That's right.
That breeds, a broader way of thinking,
That's right. And I was actually told, believe it or not, Houston being such a diverse city, some manager told me that wasn't part of Houston. They're like, well, the best teams actually come, like the best work group teams come from Houston. The diversity is so broad. It's almost like the ideas just come from everywhere. We take this for granted because there's other cities and places that are very homogeneous, and they're one way of thinking, and nobody brings in the extra ideas, so that's important. So now we go to objective 31, guys, and I'll read a few things people are saying. Guys, I've been looking at your discussions. Please make sure you use the terms. Remember, we spoke about the language. Bernard Perez says, we had to pick up a slack for a group leader once, but hey, life happens. I stepped up and made sure we still got together every week and got our work done. Looks like you're a closer, Bernard. Just remember, communication, like Tamara's saying, is important too, to let the leader know, hey, something has happened. And here's something else too. It's also important not to go to the next level, like try to outdo the leader. Just talk to them. Talk to them, try to settle it out. That is much more important than try to figure out a way to punish the leader, because it's so funny we're actually talking about this, but this all fits in perfectly with what I got to speak today. But that's very important, though, to be able to get that together, the communication, like Tamara says. Organizations do put a contract or document to state how you must communicate. Melanie, what's funny is that contract does not have to be written. Believe it or not, it's rarely written. It's another concept called social contract. A social contract is just the norm that people act and interact with. And whenever you're acting, you just kind of know it. A good social contract is, hey, if you're going to elect somebody, you're going to honor them, right? Even though you don't agree with them, right?
Okay.
You see that, Ken?
Okay.
And
I understand that. I never knew that. I never understood that. But now that you say that, that makes a whole lot of sense.
No, and social contract is a philosopher that put it together, and I believe it's Hobbes, maybe Hobbes. It's so funny. All this comes from somebody. You say it, and people don't know it. But no, I didn't make it up. I wish it would be named after me if I did. But it's some philosopher that came back, right? Manage the logistics when working with large groups. Okay, what is logistics, guys? Hey, right now we're a class. Everybody's comfy in their location next to their kids. It's Monday night, and this was a logistic. It was much cheaper to do it this way than to say, guys, if you guys want to meet me in Lone Star, I'll meet you there off hours, and everybody has to get on the car. You see the logistics? So manage it. I think this costs all of you less. You learn more, and it costs all of you less, right?
Very much so.
So then that's part of that. Expand communication channels, okay? So some people don't have enough airtime. Airtime just means wavelengths, okay? Wavelength, people think airtime, they think radio. But in this sense, it's the wavelengths among our thoughts. So Kenneth, I needed to meet with you. I need to Skype you early. You said, hey, something's wrong with my system. I'll be right back. I waited on, we wavelength there, and now we're having a problem.
Okay.
Right? So communication channels, open them, right? And what's funny is, look at number 4. What does number 4 say?
Meet online. Meet online. Use available technology to meet as a team. Telephone, conference calls, voice over internet protocol or VoIP services such as Skype, and online meeting hosts such as GoToMeeting.com are popular alternatives to face-to-face communication. These technologies are particularly useful for work meetings, status updates, and other routine sessions. Face-to-face meetings are still best when important or confidential issues are being discussed.
Great. And look what we're doing. We're saying exactly what the textbook says, right? And the thing about it, let me tell you, I always hear this all the time when people brag about their company taking them to India. And I'm like, oh, I went on a plane to India, and in the back of my head, I'm like, you're money Skype. You know, and Skype is free. Do you see how that works?
I hear that. It is. This is actually pretty new for me, actually using Skype and things like this. I was never a very technological person. Using this class, it actually brought out some things in me that I didn't think was very useful to me. I never thought that Skype or anything like this was useful. I usually like face-to-face meeting people. I like, you know, conversating over the telephone, not usually via internet. So this is really new for me. So I appreciate that. You know,
of course. And the one thing I want you to know something, Kenneth, it is better to be face-to-face. But the problem is that it costs more. This is where you got to be a businessman, a business student. Okay. When people tell you and they try to argue with you, like, no. Live meetings, live classes are the best. There's no argument there. And statistically, they are correct. Ideas get passed around easier if we're all in one room, but it costs more. That's the difference.
Okay.
So what's more efficient is the way we're done. And that's more lean.
Okay.
You see, and hopefully this lean passes on to you not having to pay so much intuition.
And I agree with you. That term lean is thrown around a lot in all 4 of the rest of my classes. So when you say lean, I understand what you mean. I'm actually taking logistics management right now. So lean is a big part of, you know, the construct of those classes, or at least the terminology or where your mind should be at when thinking about logistics. So.
Do you know what's the entity making the word lean so hot right now?
The entity? Yes. Where did lean come from?
Yeah, who's pushing it? Right now, there's this huge company pushing the word lean. That right now, all these companies.
I would say Amazon.
Amazon.
If not Amazon, it would be somebody else. But Amazon, they doctored their what they do along from what was known as Sigma 6 or Six Sigma, and it was a terminology used to make companies go lean or to produce savings and things like that.
Become efficient.
So, but lean, efficiency, and then lean became another part of it growing forward because they saw that they could become more efficient. But then after the efficiency brought on, then it was, well, I see how much we're wasting. So now let's start to downsize projects and do things. So
it makes things more affordable. And you know what? A little Kenneth will never know what Toys R Us is because of Amazon. Do you see how it is? It's almost like survival now. It's survival. Lean used to be, oh, that's such a cute word. Now it's a survival word because now you could do things cheaper, which means you charge less, which means you shut down companies like Toys R Us. Right. So this is what this book does. Look, and we're right there. So and number 5 is distribute documents and supporting material electronically. Let me tell you guys, I got to be honest with you. I don't do paper. I see paper, I get rid of it. I see a book, I get rid of it. And this is where people are like, well, I love to grab my book. This is like the one book I have in this entire thing. This book, I love to have it digitally. But I can't because it's actually what the publisher wants to give it in paper. But if I could have it digitally, you know what I could do with it? I could search it.
You could send it to people. You could. I mean, it's not taking up any space in your house.
That's right.
I mean, you don't have to look for it. It's at hands. You know, you could put it from between your laptop to your phone, so it's accessible everywhere. It actually makes it more, it gives it more utilization, to be quite honest. It makes the book itself more efficient.
Exactly. Nice. Lean, back to lean, right? And we go to number 32, last one, building sustainable agreements. An agreement, it's not what you guys think. People think it could be a contract, it could be, no, it's just what you and someone else are with. In other words, we agreed to meet here. And we agreed to lecture for everybody to gain benefit from it. That's an agreement, right? This is what I mean. A contract doesn't have to be written. It's just already understood. That's really what it is. This is where sometimes lawyers will tell you, you didn't have to be a written contract. Did you? This happens all the time. And we'll go back to marriage. But men sometimes call their girlfriends wives. But do they know that if you keep calling her wife, and then later on you're trying to leave, she could say, well, I thought I was your wife.
Common law. Common law marriage, and no
Common
contract at all. You don't have to sign no papers.
Exactly. That's an agreement. See, if it's an agreement, if it's understood, the attorney will say, well, you've been calling her wife the whole time. That's important to understand, that contract agreements don't have to be written. So when you see this, you start to realize there is a contract among you and your teammates, right? And then we go overcome fear. An action plan represents change which can threaten someone's job status. That's right. So overcome fear with each other. What's the fear that people have? I could tell you right now that the fear that everybody in this room has all the time, and I am so sorry because of the way college is built, is grades. People are so afraid of grades. It gives them anxiety, you know, and I can't lie to you. It's a college thing. I'm a PhD student, and yes, I worry about my grades too. But that overcomes what you're here to do, which is learning sometimes. You lose the learning because people are so worried about grades. This is what happens in the public schools and around the state. You know, more worried about that test you got to pass, and they forget education, what education could be. You know, communicate openly. Group tends to communicate among themselves, but if you don't communicate openly, then you lose that idea. This is what I do, guys, when someone has a question. I swear to you, when someone has a question on the group, I know I could answer. I promise you. I'm the one that set the rules. But I know that if it was Kenneth or if it was Tamara or Kelly answering the question, then everybody else would kind of say, oh, I got that. That makes more. It's actually more of an agreement, again, back to an agreement among each other, as opposed to the student versus the professor. Do you see what I'm saying? More of a community there. So I try to do it that way. Manage the pace. People are more accepting of change when they have sufficient time to adjust. Some people believe that there are people in this class, maybe some of them show up, that 1 week is too much to not speak, believe it or not. They want it more compacted, put it all together. And I'm like, well, I want to give 1 week of time people to read up on this, to kind of use definitions and come back on Monday night. Make it clear. This is why I say Monday night. Because it's clear. It makes it clear. It's consistent. People don't have to worry. Don't get that anxiety. And then we're in agreement, right?
Okay.
And then what's number 4, the last one? I'll leave it for you, Ken.
Avoid stressful times. Be aware of periods when your organization is typically busy and avoid starting the steps in the action plan at that time.
Right.
For example, trying to launch a new project at a public accounting firm in early April when employees are struggling to meet tax deadlines would likely be a disaster. The same initiative introduced in May might have a warm reception.
Okay.
So I'm guessing what they're saying is, don't try to, put something into play when it's a time where you should be focusing in another area. You know, it's too many things going on right now. So like, I didn't start college as my wife was giving birth. It was too much. She needed me at home. So I could agree with that.
Do you know that statistically one of the most stressful times are the days after vacation too?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. People go on vacation like spring break. And when they get back to class, I've noticed the students don't want to get back to a midterm, don't want to get to a quiz. I try my hardest to put the midterm before the vacation. But the one thing I do, especially with you guys, is I try to give you a video. You go watch this video, just put it somewhere and give me some notes on it. And that's it. That way you're not stressed about coming back. And this is the first video since spring break. But you notice that I gave it some time to make sure. And that's what I try to do. And I try to use everything. I use this book on a lot of my decisions, guys. It's so funny that I'm a person that I own my own business. And I use this book. And if people wonder, hey, what's your secret? Hey, I've been doing real estate for 12 years successfully, thank God. And my secret is in this book. My secret is in this book. I'm a broker because of this book. And people are like, well, that can't be part of it. I taught this class for 3 years, and I know it like the back of my head, like the back of my hand. I'm sorry, not head, but back of my head. And it works. It absolutely works when that happens. So I try to teach it the same way. So then Melanie says, I agree finding a topic that the quiet person excels at to get them to open up. But when I always try to conclude everyone with my project, because I'm not going to be the most knowledgeable person in the group, I rely on the team so we can all be successful. I agree. Kelly says, getting someone who is shy openly to communicate may not happen. It is a personality issue and may not overcome. Kelly, you're right about that. You need to watch those personalities. Some people are quiet, and but they could be your best asset. It could be in. What would you do in a situation like that? You probably wouldn't put them in front of the classroom to teach, but you probably give them an assignment they can help you with, right?
I'm sorry. Can I make a statement?
Sure.
I just want to make one statement. You put probably the shyest person that you might ever meet in person in front of your class today. So you just did that.
Wow.
What you just said.
Wow.
We just had. I'm typically the person in the class that's not saying anything. I'm very analytical. I like to observe, to learn. That's what I do.
Wow.
But I figured this was an opportunity for me to get out and,
good, Kenneth.
Speak.
Nice work. And you know what's so funny is that there is a branch of psychology, because there's extrovert. You're gonna learn about extroversion, introversion in this survey. Okay, people. There's a branch of psychology that's trying to study digital extroversion, where people are more extroverted digitally than physically. Isn't that crazy?
I don't like the computer though. I don't have a Facebook. I don't have Instagram. I do none of that. This is my first. People do not see me on the internet. There's not a picture that you could probably locate of me on any platform.
Gosh.
This is the first time.
Well, let me tell you, let me finish this class off, guys, with one thing. Thank you so much for your discussions. I will definitely look. There is a situation, Kenneth, I do have to explain something. Someone in the course, I don't know who it is, they complained to my chair about the course. I've taken this week to respond to it, and which I have no problem. That alone is on my watch. I'm the leader, and it's on me. Someone complained on the matter that maybe it looks like I'm very aloof or very distant from the course. And I mean, it may or may not sound right or not. I hope it's not, but I want to mitigate it because, again, that's part of me. I do want to say a few things. I have been allowed to put this email that my chair sent out. What my chair wants to do, and I agree with him, I don't care who put that complaint out. I really don't. I really believe it was because there's these grades that were available, right? And I needed to put them out there. I had a few of you still working on the midterm, and I know it was. I was trying to give them a chance, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I got the complaint around that time with the grades. Grades make students go a little out of hand, and then that's absolutely fine. So I've been allowed to share this email from a chair, and what he would like to know, and I'm going to put this part of the discussion. This is for the people out there watching the video and the people here too. And I'm going to make this part of the grade, part of the discussion grade, is what can I do to do it better? What can I do better? Is there something that maybe we could fix? That's what I definitely wanted to do. But the thing is, Ken, I'll tell you this. I wanted to, and go ahead. If you have something to say, go ahead.
Did they not look at all of the surveys? I mean, just a while ago, I think after the break or before the break, everybody did surveys. I saw all of them come on the GroupMe app. Did they not, read all that? Is this even a question? Because I'm very critical when it comes to teaching. And there's certain styles of teaching that I have been accustomed to, and there's others that I've had to learn. Now, there's those that are favorable to me, and there's those that are not. This was a style of teaching that I at first presumed that might have been not for me, but then after being more involved. Now, if that person has an involvement issue, then maybe they ought to start typing more. And maybe, a lot of these guys on here, from Octavia to Alma to Jake, everybody, they're very interactive, especially when you type and you engage them. So maybe that might be their issue, but it also go back to the grades. But that's kind of, it's kind of weak if you ask me.
Hey,
I just got to use that word. That's the word I want to use. I'm sorry, that was kind of weak.
Hey, thank you. I'm hoping my chair will watch this video, or at least the responses from everybody. And the truth is this, is that whole grade, and this is my little short spiel about this, okay? And I'm going to show you guys something, okay? There's this person, okay? And I'm going to show a picture of him. Have you ever heard of Gary Vaynerchuk? Kenneth? Gary Vaynerchuk?
Gary
Vaynerchuk.
No, unfamiliar. That's a person?
Actually, it's a big entrepreneurship, he's a mentor on Facebook.
Okay.
And let me tell you,
Gary who?
Vaynerchuk, and I'm gonna leave a little bit about him on the discussion. And the thing about him, let me tell you what he says, Kenneth, straightforward. Okay, he says that college is not needed. Straight. You go to YouTube, and all his statements is, you don't need college. You don't need college. You don't need college. And you know why he does it? So people stop. So people, in a way, more a couple of interest sides, right? I don't disagree with him completely. Some professors don't give you the value, and he's right on that end. Some professors don't. Some do. He's using blanket statement to cover an issue that, yes, there's some professors that don't give you the business value to make it out there in the business world. I agree with him on that. But the only problem is because there are a lot that are like Vaynerchuk that could be professors, but don't want to because there's no interest behind him to do it, except income, right? But I want to counter him and tell him, no, there's a lot of us that care about one thing, that you learn. See, the people like me care that you learn. They really, if it's the grades, then we figure it out. We always can figure it out. I have never failed anybody that didn't want to. People that wanted to fail, people that wanted to fail, they had to fail. They just wanted to fail. You know why? Because this is a decisions class. This is a decisions class. It's so crazy. It's so true. This is a decisions class.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I actually had that conversation with my wife first starting this class, and I told her, she said, well, if you don't take the class or if you don't start, watching the videos, you chose to do that. It's decision making. Like we got into a nice talk about it, and that's pretty much how I overcame, because that would have been me months ago had I not started, choosing, making better decisions and coming to class and everything. So,
well, good. And let me tell you this. There's good news, because you see me, a person who doesn't, I love doing this. I have one class, I have your class right now. And really, I'm doing it because I love teaching. I love sitting here with you guys doing it. And there's going to be a little talk about a professor I admire, okay? But let me tell you this. I have another person who's also a professor at NYU who is making just as much as this man, saying you need to go to college. So there are different discussion groups. What he's saying is, don't go to college to just get a grade, pick up the knowledge. Don't forget the knowledge, right? You gotta get certified. This is why when I do face-to-face classes and I get questions about leaving early, I would say, do you go to Beyonce and ask him to quit the concert early? Then don't. Don't ask me, because you paid this for a reason.
I hear that. I agree with that. I agree.
It's even more expensive than the concert, Beyonce's concert. This is a funny thing.
And you go twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week.
Right.
Sometimes 1 time a week. Anything that you devote your time to, devote your time. And if you have to leave early, make it a have to and not a want to. You should want to stay and receive everything. Like what really does it for me, especially while I'm in school, is that teachers, when they go into lectures, they bring in a lot of personal experience, and it helps to give you a deeper understanding of the concepts that they're trying to relate to you.
Exactly.
And then you could also relate in some of your own sense. So after you hear an occupational example about a term, and then you could think back to your own times and say, well, hey, I had that same thing happen, or something along those lines. I've seen a few remarks like that from the class today, that some people had things that happened, but it came through you speaking about your own personal effects. Yeah. So that's actually a good thing.
Let me tell you this. I have this professor I admire. His name is Dr. Green. he sent me an email. He sent all of us an email. The people have taught with him that he taught in the past, that he unfortunately has pancreatic cancer. Now, in his email, you figured, I'm thinking that in the email he's going to be all, hey, something's wrong with me. He was just stating that he is going to continue to come to class and teach. In fact, he lives in San Antonio, but our classes is in Houston, but he's just going to do it Saturdays because his chemo is on Monday, and he's going to give it the rest of the days, get on a car, and get to Houston to teach. And in the back of my head, I'm like, man, we need more professors like him. Like, on his little time he has left, all he wants to do is teach.
That's actually, that is admirable. That is very admirable.
And cross fingers is not little
people
time.
At that time.
Cross fingers is not little time. He gets over it, of course. But if he even has the chances that is little, it's going to be teaching. That's going to be the professors that I wish that Vayner Gary is not talking about. He's not talking about the professors that will give you this value. And I hope, Kenneth, I'll give you something tonight. I hope I gave the people here in this class something. If anything, please remember that whatever you do yes, let me tell you, it's much easier to get one negative. It's funny, one negative can outdo 20 positive. So positive comments, and think about this, because I like to consider myself a professor that's worth a little more on the teaching side than the grading side. Okay, but let me tell you this: if you guys do that, make sure you go and look after the people who taught you well, because that's what you need most. He's right. Gary Vaynerchuk's right on that. You need good teachers. So
I'll say this: I hope I didn't take anything from your teaching experience or your process, me being invited to your show tonight. That's what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to mess up your show. That's the only thing. That's where I came from today.
Thank you.
So I want you to know
I'm
that
so proud of you to tell me you're so funny. You say you may be an introvert. Who knows? Take that survey. You may not be an introvert. You'd be surprised. You'd be really surprised. I think, and if you ever consider a career, I think you're relatable enough to consider something in being a professor. Maybe you should go into that. Who knows? Look up on that survey. So.
Will do. I'll do it. I'll make sure to do it. I have no problem doing it.
Thank you.
But logistics was just something that I found. It was just I began working in a warehouse, and I started listening and hearing terminology and words get thrown around. So then I started investing my time into investigating what was really going on, and logistics management, supply chain management was what I came up with, and I've had success, since. I'm taking 5 classes right now, yours included, and from the averages of all my grades right now, I'm looking at 5 A's, and I'm getting 5 A's in 5 classes. I started 5 classes with 4 books, ended 5 classes with 4 books, now with 3 books, and still are maintaining A's in each class. So
very well. Good work. Good work. You're doing well for you and your kids. So congratulations. And I don't see what you mean the introvert. It's so funny. You're such a good expressive person. So thank you so much. Thank you for the talk tonight, the guest lecturing. I appreciate your time. Okay.
No problem. If you don't mind, I'd like to keep your contact info. Yes. Like if I may need to talk to you or anything, if you wouldn't have a problem with that.
More than that, Kenneth, when you need someone to convince somebody about your decision-making abilities, contact me, because that's when you're going to need me the most. Because I was supposedly the one to taught you on paper, remember?
We can actually speak a little bit later. I've just went and did an internship with Schlumberger Oil and Gas for an internship, and one of my other teachers, he had written up a letter of recommendation for me, and I heard you speak briefly about that in previous discussions. So maybe we might be able to speak about something a little bit later.
You need those. Collect those. Put them in your bank. You need all, especially from professors. So remember, that's for everybody who's done something. You have to do, and in your case, you've taken tonight. I can absolutely talk about how you've done that for me and give me that value. So I appreciate it. So you guys have a good night, and you take care.
Yes, sir. Good night, everybody. I'll see y'all next Monday.